While each quarter that passes, additional issues are unfolding that stem from the conversion of the software from Vital to Edmunds. I hope that this process was close to completion when accepting the water rent collector position. However, I was quick to learn that that was not quite the case. While the conversion is still not completed at this time, I am assured by both Census, the water meter software program, and Edmunds, our finance program, that many of these issues that I'm experiencing will no longer be an issue in the upcoming months. I do believe that when the conversion is finalized, the water collection process will run more efficiently than ever before. I thank you for your patience and your understanding. And if anyone would like to discuss in further detail the issues at hand or my plans for future billings, that please do not hesitate to reach out. Do any of council have questions about that?
No, just hopefully we do have a good solid plan going forward. I know a lot of people have been questioning and they're concerned, so
Yes.
that's all.
Okay. And I also have, I'm very excited to have Mike Papich on the meeting today. He's our plan operator and our backup license operator. And I see Chris Carson also on the line today. He's the superintendent of the water department. Mike, if you wouldn't mind talking with us and the council about the lead and past week by certified mail. We've been getting a lot of questions. If you could unmute yourself, Mike, and then just explain, what has happened and what the letters mean.
Basically, the letters are just stating anyone that has a galvanized service line and the lead, can you hear me, right? Mm-hmm. And then any lead connection. All of the service lines that we have about 1.5 feet of lead, and the rest would be galvanized. If some owners are getting notifications saying that they have a lead service line, which by the state standards, they're considering a galvanized line lead, so it's kind of confusing to them a little bit. So when they read it, they see lead service line and they don't have it if it's on the house side. And basically, we're just trying to go through, notify everybody what they have in the ground. It's a work in progress, just trying to get the best accurate account of what we have. So some are incorrect. We've been getting a lot of calls stating that they've already updated their lines, but we're going off of our old reports from back when we had the meter project. So we're trying to update as quick as possible.
You're welcoming calls, though, to kind of check them off the list and help us update the records.
Yes. Most of the calls have been people saying that they've had their service lines replaced already. I've talked to a few people, and basically all the ones I've talked to were just concerned that they said they saw galvanized or lead, and I just called and reassured them they didn't have it. Once we checked our files on our side, they said their side was poly, and they were good. I have a couple calls where they're more concerned with just wanting the water tested. So we're getting sample bottles delivered. They were actually dropped off today, so we'll start sampling as soon as we get about 12 in, or at least, so we can run them up to Henderson Labs and get them sampled. And as just as they call and want it tested, we'll go out and test it for them. And then once we get calls to confirm what's in the ground on their side, if they're not too sure, we'll go out, dig it up, figure out what's there, and just go from there. And once we know what's in the ground, we'll remove it and replace it, at least for now on the street side. Sorry, that's what we're responsible for. So, normally our protocol was house side would get done first and then the street side. So as we got the calls that their house was updated, we would come in and replace the galvanized service line on our side.
Okay.
Mike, excuse me, I have a question, Mike.
Sure.
Is there a time period when you would know if lead was used or if you used something more appropriate?
I want to say back in the 70s, they were using more of the lead whips and earlier. And then once they advanced a little more with the, material, they switched to either copper or poly pipe.
Okay.
Which is, cheaper, easier to use, and obviously no lead. So that's better.
Okay. Yeah, because my house is, from the 60s, but we did have an upgrade done probably about 15 years. So I wasn't sure because I couldn't find it. We didn't get a letter. And I think a lot of people didn't. And it said, you may not have, but you still might have an issue, so.
Yeah, because so we had some that were unknown, so we didn't want to send out a letter not knowing what was in the ground.
Okay.
You know, if because a lot of people have updated. So we like I said, we were going off of our records from when we had the meter project. About I would say 90% were inspected on our street side, and sometimes they just didn't give a full report on what was in the ground. It was like unknown or not written in the report, so we couldn't list it as such. So we have to go out and find them, dig up the road a little section, find out what's in the ground on our side, and then we'll dig up on the house side, or like looking under the house, see what's coming up out of the ground there, and then go from there.
Right. Thank you.
And as we find them, we'll send out the letters to notify.
Okay.
A
Thank you.
homeowner should assume that if they didn't get a letter, then this isn't a worry for them.
Correct, but like I said, there still might be galvanized in the ground. We're just not sure, so we didn't want to go and just call everything unknown as a lead service line.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd rather dig up, find out what it is, and then send out. And from what the DEP was saying, they wanted us to just anything known, send the letters out to them, just so we don't get a lot of callbacks about it, and we're not too sure what's in the ground. So.
And the letters went out statewide, right?
Yes, they were all had to be out, I think, by the 22nd. So I'm sure everybody's getting a lot of phone calls right now.
Yes. Yes. Chris, do you have anything to add to this? You have to unmute first.
Well,
I don't. Oh,
No, sorry.
oh,
Can you hear me?
sorry.
Go
Can you hear
ahead.
me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Mike can correct me if I'm not correct, but I think we sent out about 700 letters that we know are lead, and I think there's about the same amount that were unknown.
Yeah, I think it was about 600, give or take, right there, right around 600. And a lot of them were the condos that are unknown, but I have to say most of the condos, like the bigger ones with the 20 or 30 units, they're more updated. They haven't been around as long, so that's one plus. We just have
Probably all
to
right.
figure out what's in the ground there, and then that'll take a bunch off our list. So.
Okay, council, anything else for Mike and Chris before we let them go?
One more question. If you got a letter, what's next?
Oh, we recommend now, replace the house side, and then, like I said, we would come in and replace the street side.
Mhm.
And we would we have 10 years to replace everything in town.
Okay.
So, but our normal protocol was always house side first and then street side, just because with the galvanized lines, they would get a little more corrosion inside. So if we replace our side, it still has the buildup and everything on the house side, which normally was the complaint was I have no water pressure, which would be the buildup on the inside of the galvanized pipe.
Mhm.
Is there a way to look in the meter pit to see what's what?
In the meter pit, it wouldn't help. We'd have to dig up on the house side of the meter pit and then the street side in the road just to confirm what's in the ground. And then we could look under the house, but you never know what was done. Like sometimes they would just fix from the riser coming up out of the ground and the crawl space into the house, just because a lot of times they don't want to spend the money to replace from the street side into the house because landscaping and everything else, and until there's a leak, and then they would have to fix, normally get forced to fix it, I guess you could say.
Right.
All right, does that answer your question, Dan?
Yeah.
All right.
It answers mine too. So thank you very much, Mike, for coming on
Yeah.
and telling everyone about this.
No
So
problem.
thanks.
And if the homeowners are not sure, like I said, they can call up and just request we come out and, try and find what they got on the house side and street side and go from there.
Oh, that's helpful.
Right.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we have minutes for approval today, January 27th agenda meeting minutes and February 14th, the CDBG meeting minutes without formal reading.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to read those? Look them. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the 27th and the 14th?
Motion to
So
approve.
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Ordinance 2022-01C, an ordinance establishing Chapter 137, outdoor dining in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to establish an outdoor dining permit under certain circumstances. Final reading.
Okay, since this is the final reading, excuse me, we'll open it for public comment. As always, please try to limit yourself to 3 minutes. Make sure you give your name, address, and just reach out so Sherry can see you.
Seeing
Okay.
none.
All right, seeing none, did council have anything they wanted to comment on at this point, or?
I'm sorry, John, did you want to be heard? John Halperin?
Yes, hi, everyone. John Halprin, 319 Fairview Avenue, President of the Beach Haven Taxpayers Association. We did submit a letter to council. I'm sure council has read it. It was dated January 31st. We were very, very supportive and very pleased to see that this ordinance did address the public safety issues and the parking issues and the pedestrian access issues. We still are concerned over the section of the ordinance that deals with live entertainment. We believe that if these restrictions were not imposed during the pandemic, we don't believe they should be imposed now. We believe that all this is what's happening is just sending musicians who rely on employment in Beach Haven for live entertainment. And I do understand this is for new applicants because we got that clarification from Jamie. But we believe that job creation is good for Beach Haven. It's good for the economy. It's good for businesses. It has a residual effect of business outside restaurants. We also believe that what is happening is with this further restriction, it's just going to create a situation where our tourists and our visitors are going to go outside of Beach Haven for outdoor dining that has live entertainment. If you read the SAM paper from last week, Surf City recently proposed a suspension on the ban of live entertainment in an outdoor dining venue. So in summary, I think this is, I don't think further restrictions are warranted during a pandemic. If we were out of a pandemic situation, I could see this restriction. And I believe that the ordinance then becomes overly prescriptive and not a framework for the land use board to consider in their applications. And something like this should be under the purview of the land use board. So thank you very much.
Thank
you,
you,
John.
John. Any other member of the public wish to be heard on this ordinance? You can raise an electronic hand, or you can unmute yourself and state your name and address. And I don't see any.
Hi, I'm Mary Wischusen, 134 Center Street. For some reason, I don't seem to have the ability right now to raise my hand.
No
but I
problem,
think-
Mary. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I support the ordinance very strongly as it's written. I think the council did a wonderful job supporting the restaurants, but also supporting the neighbors of the restaurants. I believe that the ban on outside the music, the live entertainment, and especially amplified music is a wonderful addition to the whole situation. I understand that there are many, many opportunities in Beach Haven and on Long Beach Island for bands. I very much support music. I think that people who are in bands are very often at a disadvantage because it's a difficult market. But I think that the neighbors have to have peace. And that's what I think this ordinance brings to Beach Haven. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else like to speak to this ordinance? don't have any other hands raised, Colleen.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close it to public comment. And is there a motion to approve 2022-01C? Is
Motion to approve.
there a second?
I second it, but I'd like to respond to what was just stated. So just so we understand though, too, this is for outdoor dining to help businesses have outdoor dining, not outdoor music. So that I think is what the goal of the ordinance was to do, is to, if a business wants to sit more people outside because of pandemic concerns and things like that, I believe that that's what the focus of this ordinance is to do. You know, I understand what Mr. Halpern is saying about, you know, causing problems for bands and things like that. But if the business is truly wanting to seek an application for this, it's because they need more room to give more space for people to come and enjoy and sit outside. It's not a focus of allowing a band or not allowing a band, so, or music, outdoor music. They should be really focused on trying to serve their population to dine outside. So I second it, right? Okay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Allen.
Could I add one more thing too? This is also meant to make it less restrictive for the businesses to be able to get outdoor dining, so they do not have to go in front of land use board. They can apply, show their, you know, sketched out site plan, how they're going to handle everything, and trash removal, hostess stands, the ingress, egress, the 6-foot right of way, all these things. Even allow them to have up to, you know, 4 tops, and to make it safe and steady for everybody across the town. As by all accounts, you know, the pandemic seems to be, and knock on wood, it continues to go in this direction, moving to an endemic phase. And I think we have to be proactive with that as well. And I think this is a pro-business move. I think there are only a few places that I can think of off the top of my head that might even have the room for an outdoor entertainment. The rest of the places on the sidewalks and things like that, I think they would lose significant seating if they're going to put a little band out there. But our intention was to work with the business, you know, the restaurant community, to allow dining to continue, because, you know, it was coming to an end, and we heard a call that we wanted this to continue. So that's kind of our response, you know, trying to make things a little bit easier for them to continue. So, but yeah, I also vote yes.
Okay, I'm going to roll call, and I believe that I see Nancy is on, so I'm going to include her in the roll call. Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Dr. Davis, Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes,
Thank you. Ordinance 2022-02C, an ordinance amending Chapter 180, Section 3, swimming pools in the Borough Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to further regulate pool dewatering operations. Final reading.
okay, since it is the final reading, we will open it for public comment. Usual procedure, raise your hand, identify yourself. Please go ahead if you're ready.
And if anyone's uncertain, on my computer, it's under the reactions tab that's under the raise hand. I don't know about some of you guys, what kind of devices you're on, but if you're uncertain, you can always just unmute yourself, state your name and address. And if you're on a regular phone, *6 will unmute you. Any member of the public wish to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none?
Okay, seeing none, we will close the floor to public comment. Is there a motion to approve 2022-02C?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thank
Me
you.
too.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Dr. Davis? Still nothing. Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes,
All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 71 is opposing the extension of executive orders by Governor Murphy beyond the public health emergency. Resolution 73, supporting Senate Bill S 1106, prohibiting mandatory use of medical devices by minors without informed parental consent. And Resolution 74 was added to the agenda for a budget transfer.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to read over the resolutions? Anything you have a question about or want removed or discussion?
I have a question, Sherry. Does the public understand what these resolutions are too? Do they get a copy of it, have access to it?
No, these resolutions aren't published and available until they're approved by council.
Okay, so just so folks know, because I was wondering what a medical device was for a minor, it means no masks, no continued masks for minors. That it comes from the parent's decision to send their child to school with or without a mask. So just so you know, the medical devices is masking, which obviously we all know the governor has taken that mandatory mask mandate as of March 7th out of the school system. So just so you have clarification for that. So I'm
Yeah.
fine with them.
My only, yeah, when you said that, Chris, it's true. I was like, well, I didn't know that we really needed, since it is coming anyhow, but so be it.
Yeah, when we get these resolutions get distributed to us from other municipalities.
I think Sherry froze.
As I say, Sherry, you're frozen.
I'll text her.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
There
there
you
you
go.
go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. When we get these resolutions from other municipalities and we send them to you for consideration, if we get support for it from at least one member of council, we type it up and put it out. So that is where it came from. But it's up to you if you want to adopt it.
Okay, well, is there a motion to approve the resolutions within the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, we have several items on our general discussion. The first is free Wednesdays. And this one keeps coming up. And it's funny because when we were campaigning for office, this one was coming up. So obviously, there is a need, and I'll be very honest, I questioned it a couple times myself prior to running for council. And I know Sherry said that, well, it's not so much a fact, about the revenue per se, it's the fact that we're not paying our, staff to be on duty. And she did give us a list of, facts and figures concerning the revenue regarding with that. Some people feel that by opening the town up, we're getting overcrowded. My question when I first asked Sherry was, are the businesses seeing an uptick on Wednesdays because we are allowing people to come in and use our facilities for free? And I know back then, I don't think there was any empirical data. And Sherry said she did reach out to some businesses and it kind of got a mixed response. So I understand fully both sides of this issue because I know when I buy passes and I buy a beach badge and everything else, and Wednesdays are super crowded, it's kind of annoying. But if our businesses are seeing a positive result, then I can live with it. And I know Jamie's not here, but I spoke with her before the meeting and she suggested maybe keep it the same this year and re-examine this issue again in September. So I actually, going forward, I would like to hear from the public because like I said, this came up in a couple of the forums. So obviously enough people had a concern about it. Let us know how you feel. That's all I have to say about that.
Dan?
It was my understanding that the Wednesdays were a good thing for the town, that they brought people here. They gave the borough a break. It made staffing easier as a crunch already. And that just by the fact simply that, free beaches, free amenities was a boon to the businesses in town because it's just simple numbers brought more people. So I kind of tend to agree with Jamie. Let's roll this another year and let's double check, make sure that that is in fact right. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Chris?
I too, for the past 2 years, we really haven't seen, it advertised per se. I know it's been pretty busy. I think that, for some of our folks who work possibly 7 days a week, knowing that Wednesday they'd always have off, I think that's helpful. But at the same time, maybe doing another year, reevaluating, great. I honestly don't have an opinion one way or another. If it helps support our business community, then I'd love to see that continue. Yeah, so, and it's not advertised per se, so it's kind of like a nice little exciting thing for some people to know about. So we have that as well.
Okay. The second item is curbside pickup parking. Sherry, do you want to explain this or?
We'll let Chris discuss it.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So, for the past 2 years, we've had take curbside parking spaces for some of our businesses so that they could have access for takeaway, which I found was really helpful. And I've also talked to several different businesses who also found that helpful, just to have a couple spots available so that to-go people could come, pick up their food, they'd and go. We do find, as everyone knows, there are times when spaces in front of some businesses are full, and those people are here the entire day and never move. So for the suggestion was, moving forward, since the pandemic executive orders are going to be going away, this would also go away. So conversation came up with a few of the council and with conversations with some businesses about keeping that as an option for businesses. It would be something that businesses would have to apply to. They would get a max of 2 parking spaces that would be marked out so that they can have access to a takeaway section for people to come pick up and go away. It's just another way that we can hopefully help some of the businesses in town by having access in front of their stores so that people can get whatever they are, food or a parking space for, maybe one parking space for the barber shop or whatever is in town to take away. So,
and because it's going to be established under that particular chapter of the code, it would be able to be enforced.
Yeah.
I have Nancy, for some reason she can't unmute, but she's saying that she supports the idea of the curbside pickup. Maybe not 2 spaces, but she supports it.
And
I think that I say it's like a max of 2 for anybody who applies, and you have to apply.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Can we put a time frame on that instead of like an all-day thing? From for restaurants, lunch through dinner or something like that. I don't know if that would help, or but maybe something to help with parking.
I mean, the simpler it is, the easier for them to enforce.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll do whatever that you guys decide to do.
Yeah, I know that's an added wrinkle to the situation. I'm just trying to think of how to, you take 2 spots away. Is that going to further exacerbate the problem, the parking problem in the congested area of town?
And it is the choice of the business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might say, well, I'd prefer to have regular parking in front of my business. I don't really need the curbside, or what, it's up to them to make the application. We're not deciding where it is. And if we get none, we don't get any applications, there won't be any.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else regarding that? So I guess we're kind of in agreement that that's something that we should consider and offer to the businesses if they would like to take advantage of it. Okay.
I would like that for them. I think that is just an extra help to them in some way. it's seasonal, right, Sherry? It would be like a seasonal thing. I mean, obviously, nobody's
mean-
parking in front of.
Yes, once they apply, you all would approve the list by resolution, and then that would expire at the end of the year, and the next year they would have to request it again if they needed it. And again, kind of like the additional handicap spaces that we
Yeah.
renew every year, that's just a supplement to the code.
Okay. Yeah, so I would like to move forward with that.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
More discussion, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
All righty. And the last one, I don't think it's on the list, but I'd mentioned that I wanted to discuss briefly the rentals because I've gotten letters from the Southern Ocean Chamber of Commerce and the Beach Haven Chamber of Commerce. They were very concerned when the issue of a rental registry came up a couple weeks ago. And I want to clarify something because we're not looking to reinvent the wheel here. Beach Haven does have an ordinance already about occupancy limits and things like that. The problem has become that some landlords and renters are blatantly overstating what their capacity is. Now, when I say that, I mean, there's a house a couple blocks over that, an older house, so I know it doesn't have large rooms, advertises 6 bedrooms, sleeps 20, and they have 1 off-street parking spot. So obviously the neighborhood is being inundated with cars from one property. And that's one example. I've heard it from people at the north end. I've heard it from the people of South End. And the whole purpose is to try and not create a police state or not, make it onerous or too difficult to rent your home. We're asking that people observe the occupancy limits. Now, we have the ordinance, and basically, if you want to have for 2 people to be in a room, it is, it's 120 square feet. And if you have another 50 square feet beyond that, you can have a 3rd person. Well, unless you're talking about the very newer, larger homes, most rooms would conform with that. So when you hear these numbers, like, our house fits 1620, that's obviously way over the top. And then you are not only overcrowding the house, you are creating a parking problem and a density issue and probably a noise issue. You've got that many people in there. This is not meant to be, something to take away from the businesses at all. And I think that was the perception. We're just asking that when you rent your house, you consider your neighbors. Now, okay, well, what about a crib? What about a pull out? Again, nobody is looking to be super over the top with enforcement. We're just trying to keep it so that everybody around you can enjoy their property. I think the number one thing I heard last summer is Beach Haven isn't what it used to be. This town is out of control. Maybe it was an anomaly because of COVID. I don't know. It is a popular place, and every street you look at is getting knocked down, the houses, and much bigger homes are going in. So we are increasing our density all the time. We just want to see if there is a way. And I think right now we're going to appeal to the homeowners. We're going to appeal to the realtors. If you see a house that is blatantly advertising more than it should, then please ask them not to. I know you get more money if you do that, but we need more consideration for the public all the way around. And I think, the bottom line is trying to walk along, keep our businesses happy. Certainly tourism is our lifeblood, and we want to keep that going. But we also have a responsibility to the residents who either live here year round, live here in the summer, or just come down with their family and friends for the occasional visit and want to enjoy their property. So that's where that all came from. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in or not, but I felt I should explain because I know there was some concern there.
You said it perfectly. I have nothing specific else to add. I think just, an appeal to the business or to the rental companies and VRBO. I mean, it is challenging, but hey, can we just try to be considerate? So that's it.
And the police have said, call them if you feel property is being overused, it's overoccupied, there's noise issues. They are more than willing to go and to step in and check things out.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the challenges with this is enforcement,
Mhm.
how you can prove, and then once you get there, you're going to tell a family half of you have to go home. I mean, that's not going to go down well. The second problem I see with this is a lot of these houses that are being knocked down and built out as much as possible by our zone, they're not being rented. They're being used by their families, and each family has more and more adult children who bring more and more cars. So you might have 7 people in the house who live there. That's their home. It's not being rented, and each one of them has a car. I mean, that's the case on my street right here on multiple houses. So I think it's a multi-tiered problem, and I'm not sure just focusing on the rentals is necessarily how we go about this. I think you can appeal to the realtors and the landlords, but at the end of the day, it's just an appeal. I think if we wanted to do something by ordinance, then, you know, that's, I don't know how in real terms that we could, you know, phrase that so it could not hurt business. It could not hurt, you know, because if you do that, maybe some rental properties go for sale and move the township where they can continue to do that. You know, it could have a trickle down effect. I mean, I think the appeal is fine, but I think it's a slippery slope once you start telling homeowners by ordinance how many people they can put in their home.
Well, we do have the ordinances on the books.
And yeah, I agree with that, but it to further restrict, I mean, the buzzword lately has been restricting the businesses, restricting this, restricting that. And then we're going to restrict homeowners too. I mean, that's, you know, I think that's, you know, it's slippery once you start doing that. And then there's the enforcement issue along with that.
Right, and that's, that the police are there. And I mean, not only, especially when these new homes are getting built, by law, they have a certain number of off-street parking places they have to supply too. In the older part of town, that didn't happen. And well, even in all parts of town, basically, so it's, you know, new construction and new renovation, you have to have, or new construction, I guess, you have to have a certain amount of parking places. And that's going to help when they have 6 bedrooms, because then they're going to need, you know, like at least 3 off street. But right now, you know, when you have these older houses and there's no parking and they're advertising 20, that does create a problem for the neighbors. And no, I know it's funny because last summer we were kind of accused of being too business friendly and looking and only watching out. Then the other day somebody goes, you're not business friendly. I'm like, you know, you can't win, but I want to strike a balance so that we can keep our tourism going. But the people who own their homes have some expectation of being able to enjoy their properties.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
okay, is there anything else on that? Anybody else want to comment on any general discussion? We've covered everything there. Okay, Sherry, then I guess on to the approval of the bills.
I have a bill list today in the amount of $65,274.56.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to read through the bills?
Mhm.
Okay, if there are no questions or concerns, is there a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
So moved. I'll second.
As I said, I think you got it there.
I was going to offer this time, Chris.
Mr. Rouse,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutherford,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we're down to public comment. So, you know, obviously this can be on anything. Again, please limit yourself to 3 minutes, identify yourself and make yourself known.
I do see that I have Megan Marrow on the call from Beach Patrol. Megan, would you mind talking to us for a minute about what you saw with Free Wednesdays?
Yes, sorry. So as long as for us for Free Wednesdays, as long as the Wednesday is not July 4th, we haven't seen a huge change. So Pearl Street through 5th Street is always busy. Center is always busy. And it's not that we can't handle it. And it is busy, but it's not like we see anything necessarily different. Most of the people come up on deck and show us our beach badges and they don't even know that it's Free Wednesday. So realistically, as long as Free Wednesday is not July 4th, I don't see that there's a problem having it. But if one day it does fall on July 4th, I would like that we don't use it on July 4th kind of thing. But I actually don't see, I know that would help us. I don't see it affecting us in any real negative way. Most of the people are pretty surprised by it, that it is a Free Wednesday. So
They feel like they got something. They're like, woohoo.
yeah, they're like super excited. They're like, oh, it is? We didn't even know. So
Yeah.
I didn't see any necessarily huge change. The only thing and I looked in, July 4th is a Monday. So that would be the only real factor.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks, Megan.
thank you, Megan.
No
Thank
problem.
you, Megan.
John Harvey?
Excuse me, Sherry, John Harvey, 211 Second Street in Beach Haven. And just a couple of thoughts on two of the items you just discussed. One, as far as the takeout parking, I would not push aside Dan's idea that maybe this could be time-based, and maybe if you got to talk to the restaurants and ask them to apply, say, would 11 to 2 and 4 to 7 work for you, which I'm guessing is their primary pickup times, okay? As far as enforcement, and I think this is the issue with it's a challenge with everything. But the question I'd ask you is, last summer, Sherry, did we give out any summonses for people overstaying pickup parking spots? And I don't know you don't have to answer that now, but my presumption is that there were some, because if it's easier to check and enforce at that time, then we must I can't believe everybody went in and parked for their pickup only and stayed only, whatever the stated time is. So I think that's important to look at that. And understand, it would be great to know, hopefully you'd want to know what the number of summonses were last year. And so if there were very few amount, it can't be any more difficult to enforce something that has limited time. And a lot of people, if they see the limited time, will abide by that. I've stated my opinion before, the rental maximum, and I get that we're not interested in doing the work. And while we were talking, I just went on VRBO, Beach Haven, New Jersey, for 14 guests, and I asked each council member to take a look at this. And I won't give you the specifics here, and I'll send it to you if you'd like. But here's an Oceanside Cape, 5 hours from the beach. That is 14 guests is what I inquired, middle of July, sleeps 14, 4 bedrooms, 21 beds. 21 beds. It's a Cape, so I'm guessing the park is either non-existent or one, and it's going for $321 a night right now. So I can get 21 of my best friends and stay there for $15 a night. And I just think something has to be done. As you were talking, I said, well, how about this? How about there's a group of communication to the general public, okay, that says, hey, these are the guidelines and we expect you to respect them. Secondly is, and I may do this myself because it comes right up to you, and say, hey, police department, here are 10 houses where clearly they're renting well beyond what should be a reasonable number. And I said this before, I think putting the burden on the public to enforce this or to even look over it, I'll do it if it's next to me, but not everybody does that. Or you might have 5 rentals in a row where there isn't a neighbor that's going to care as much. And then what you do is you send the same thing to the realtors and say, listen, we're noticing, and here's one example, 4 bedrooms, 21 beds. And then maybe next time around, you look at a better enforcement or even a fine for people that do it. But I think the way you've described it, I think it's going to have very little or no impact in reducing it. I think it's a key issue from a parking and a crowd standpoint. And I just really implore the council to do something, even if it's simply communicating to the public and looking at Verbo, I don't know if you ever pronounce it, and sending, it's probably 100 addresses, sending them a note, the owners, and saying, just so you understand, these are the guidelines. And personally, and I did see, I think it was Tom Meadow wrote a note about this to Jim, and he said, call the police. And as I see it, I'm going to call the police, but frankly, I don't think that's the best use of the police's time during peak season. So I think if we proactively communicate, set expectations to the general public, to the realtors, and to the people that just right on this Verbo are abusing the idea of overcrowding, I think you've got to do something. And I think doing nothing in this case is just is a shame. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John Halperin?
Hi, John Halpern, 319 Fairview Avenue, Beach Haven, as well as the Beach Haven Taxpayers Association. I want to get back my comments on the letter homeowners have received regarding the lead. We did receive the same letter, and when I called Public Works, because I went on, they have a spreadsheet of all those homes that you are suspected of lead.
Mhm.
When our property wasn't listed as one of those that was suspected of lead, I was told it's based on the age of the home. And I was also told that you could request a water sample so you could be tested for lead, and you would get the results in 2 to 3 days. So I think the public should be made aware that that is an avenue for you to determine whether you have lead or not, because the letter that we received, it was unknown whether we had lead coming into our house or not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public wish to be heard? The floor is open for any topic. Theodora? Or is that Jim again?
No, it's Theodora this time.
Oh.
Sorry, that's the wrong hand. Sorry, but yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Theodora Lambert, 516 North Atlantic. And I would like to just talk a minute about the occupancy issue, because I think it would behoove all of us to look at other beach towns, how they're handling it, because I know, for instance, Manasquan, which is a very popular beach community, a little further north than us, definitely inspects when they go out to inspect houses for their fire alarms. And if you apply to be a rental house, they look at the square footage and the number of rooms, and they tell you exactly how many people you can have in your rental property. And I know homeowners there who abide by that. They advertise their home that that's what they're allowed to rent by. So I don't think it's an impossible ordinance or regulation to uphold. I think it's going to take a lot of work to get to that point, and it's going to take a lot of cooperation. But for example, a house in my neighborhood that is two stories, two rental properties, and each floor holds probably 6 people. Last summer, they had one mother and at least 20 teenage boys in this property. Now, that's a problem. That's a problem for the neighborhood. That's a problem for the town. One of our biggest problems in the town last summer was teenagers roaming the streets. Well, this is where they're coming from. They're staying in houses with 20 people. So it definitely is a something that we should look at and see how we can best make it work for everybody in town, the businesses, the homeowners, and the renters. I don't think it's an insurmountable problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment they'd like to make? I don't see any others. Colleen?
Seeing none, we'll close the floor to public comment and move on to final remarks by council. Dan, would you like to kick us off this week?
You're muted.
My turn. Okay. I'm going to be short and sweet. I have to get to a basketball game shortly with my son up at St. Francis, which I love these games. If you guys have never been to one, I highly recommend it. It's better than going to the NBA. Awesome. I'm encouraged, by the great discussion we had tonight on a couple of topics that are coming our way next on how to handle the town in the best way possible. I thank everybody for their comments, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, Chris?
Mine's also sweet. I just wanted a short and sweet. I should say not necessarily sweet. Just acknowledge Mike Papich. Thank you for having him on to speak to us today and to explain, how they're handling the lead letters and the situation that they are being required to have to change and make changes to. So I appreciate him coming on to talk and to be available to our homeowners to make changes and even come onto the homeowner's property and help them to figure out what they have in their home. Not many towns do that kind of stuff. So I appreciate the small townness of that. And That's it. So too, yeah, thank you so much for the conversation. We had some things go through and we'll keep on working to help everyone here in our community. So thanks for your time.
Thanks, Chris. And, once again, going last, Dan and Chris did a wonderful job, pretty much saying a lot of what I wanted to, and they probably said it better. So I will say thank you, everybody, and we will continue to work together. And that's our whole aim here, is to make sure that the town of Beach Haven moves forward in a decent, civilized, profitable way for everybody. So have a good evening, and we will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So
Motion to
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Being adjourned.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.